Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking a look at a Debian-based distro called Neptune. I'm going to be taking a look at Neptune 5.0. This is their Plasma edition. Reading a short little blurb from distrowatch.com. Neptune is a GNU/Linux distribution. I said it, GNU/Linux, for desktops. It is based on Debian's stable branch, except for a newer kernel, some drivers, and newer versions of popular applications such as LibreOffice. It also ships with the latest version of the KDE desktop. The distribution's main goals are to provide a good-looking, general-purpose desktop with pre-configured multimedia playback and to offer an easy-to-use USB installer with a persistence option. So, Debian stable, except a more up-to-date KDE Plasma desktop and some drivers, probably proprietary drivers. Debian stable, of course, normally ships with nothing but free software. So I'm going to download the ISO and install this inside a virtual machine. Okay, so downloaded the ISO, and we've got the boot menu here. We've got the options of Neptune Live, Neptune Live Safe Mode, Neptune Live Deutsch. So we have an English live environment and a German live environment, Neptune Live, and some various German words. And then we also have a selection here in the boot menu for other languages. And then at the bottom we have Neptune Live English Low Memory Mode. And then we have Help. So I'm just going to go ahead and boot into the live environment. I'm going to choose Neptune Live English. While I wait on the live environment to load up, I should mention ISO size. The ISO for Neptune 5.0 was 2.1 gigabytes, so pretty big ISO. Still waiting for it to load. Got some kind of little desktop sound going on. That was pretty neat. Alright, our live environment here. This is, of course, the Plasma desktop here in the live environment. And we could actually just take a look at the live environment, but you guys know I like to actually run through the install process on these. So I'm going to click on the icon right here on the desktop that says Install Neptune. Alright, and the installer launches. It looks like they're using the Calamares installer. It looks like language, English US has been chosen for us. I'm going to click Next. Time zone, it's chosen the Eastern time zone in the US. I'm actually in the Central time zone, so let me correct that. Then click Next. English US for our keyboard layout. Let me make sure it's working correctly. It is. Right, partition. Do I want to erase disk and let Neptune automatically set up my partitions? Or do I want to click down here and manual partition? I'm just going to choose erase disk. I'm going to let Neptune do automatic partitioning. For those of you that need to do manual partitioning, you would choose manual partitioning. I'm going to click Next. Then we need to create our username. I've created my username. We need to create a password for this user. I'm going to create a very difficult to guess password. Then log in automatically without asking for a password. I won't tick that one on. Use the same password for the administrator account. I will leave that ticked on. That way my home user and my root user share the same password. So I don't have to remember two different passwords. Alright, the summary. Location, correct. Keyboard, looks correct. Partition scheme, all looks good. I'm going to click Next. And the installer begins. Probably will take somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes for the installer to complete. I'm going to pause the video. Alright, and the installation has completed. We need to reboot the machine. Alright, we've rebooted our machine. Let's see how long it takes for Neptune 5 refresh. That is the code name. The version is refresh. It's a nice name, actually. I like that name, refresh. Much better name than like some of the Ubuntu releases, like Bionic Beaver. Kind of adult in nature, don't you think? Or many years ago, Fedora had that horrible code name, Beefy Miracle. Yeah, Yeah, let's name our Linux distro after a hot dog. All right, we're at our login manager. Let me go ahead and type my very complicated password and log in. I really like that neat little splash screen there. And VirtualBox guest editions, by the way, are working out of the box. So, all right, and this is Neptune 5.0 refresh. Before I go through the review portion of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a browser up here, and we're going to read some of the release notes. Let's see what some of the highlights are for Neptune 5. This version marks a new iteration within the Neptune universe. We made the switch to the current Debian stable stretch. So they just recently moved to Debian, basing this on Debian 9 stretch. So I guess they were using the old stable previously. They no longer strive to bring in the most recent versions of Plasma, the kernel, and other software, with snaps, flatpaks, app images being more and more popular and mature. We strongly believe these are the way to go if you want to try out bleeding edge software. Okay. So they're not trying to provide like the latest Plasma, the latest kernel. If you guys want that, you're free to go get it yourselves. These days, they're right. It is a lot easier to install software regardless of what distro you're running. So looks like they're going to go with the latest LTS Plasma release, which is Plasma 5.12. The KDE applications are 17.12, as well as the KDE frameworks 5.43. So rather than going for the absolute latest Plasma, they're going with the latest LTS stable version. For good hardware support, they're going with Linux kernel 4.14 from the Debian Stretch backports repository. There's also this notice. Within Neptune 5.0, we stopped officially supporting proprietary graphics card drivers. Now that's interesting. It says, we removed the support for easy installing them from our whatever hardware manager. You can, however, install them on your own if you need or like. Of course, you can always install proprietary graphics card drivers on your own if you wish, but it's kind of nice to have an easy graphical installer for that. I'm not sure if they had them before, why you would remove them, but then most of the rest of the release notes, some of the applications that are included by default, which of course we're going to take a look at in the menu system. Under known issues, NVIDIA graphics cards could fail to bring up the Plasma desktop. That's the NV4X NVIDIA graphics cards. So, all right. So this is Neptune 5.0 refresh. I'm going to go through the menu and see what suite of applications we have installed by default. The first thing I notice, the menu. Wow, this is a fantastic looking menu system they're using. Now I like the default, like the kickoff menu that KDE uses normally. That menu system is not bad. I actually really like that menu system. I like that menu system better than like the standard menu system in something like XFCE, for example, or even Mate. But this is called the Excalibur menu, so this is not the kickoff menu, this is the Excalibur menu. I really, really like this. This has some quick launchers, I'm assuming, or maybe it's our most recent apps. I'm not exactly sure what this column is, but then you have your standard, like your application categories here in the right column. Oh, here is recent applications and recent documents, and of course you have a search field that we could type. Let's see, without even highlighting that, if I just start typing something like terminal, yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I really think that is a great menu system. For first impressions. Like it's really easy to see what's going on in this menu. It's not overly complicated like some menu systems. Pretty straightforward. All right, under the Office category. Now remember, this ISO was 2.1 gigs in size, so I expect to have some software installed here. So the LibreOffice suite, we have LibreOffice Calc, Draw, Impress, and Math all installed by default. Let me go ahead and Writer as well. I'm going to go ahead and open LibreOffice Writer. and I think they're going with LibreOffice 6.0. Yep, version number 6.0.2.1.0. So LibreOffice 6. Alright, also under Office we have Ocular and Retext. Let's see what Retext is. I'm not really familiar with that program. I think it's the first time I've seen this particular program in any distro I've reviewed on the channel. Alright, this program uses the Qt toolkit, so it's a Qt program. But it doesn't really tell me much about it. It's obvious that it's a text editor, though. A simple but powerful editor for markdown and restructured text. Okay. Uses Pi markups 2.0.0. So it's a text editor / IDE probably. Alright, under the utilities category we have our ISO image writer. We have Latte, which is a doc. Let me launch Latte doc. Okay. Of course, they have the default settings here for it to be at the bottom. Obviously, we have our panel at the bottom, so I would probably move the panel to the top if I was going to use a dock at the bottom. Or put the dock at the top and use the panel at the bottom. But let me get rid of Latte dock. I'm not much on using docks anyway. Back to the menu. Under Utilities, we have Arc, which is KDE's archiving utility for zip, unzip, that sort of thing, tar, gz files. Cade, of course, is your text editor your plain text editor in KDE. Also under Utilities, we have Kfind, we have Kwrite, which is another KDE text editor. We have Spectacle, which is for taking screenshots. Under Settings, we have Grub Customizer, we have OpenJDK, System Settings. This should be your standard system settings, your control panel, if you will. We'll come back to this here in a bit. Also under Settings, we have our Disk Manager. Let's see what program Disk Manager is. Oh, of course, we have to enter our root password. Well, let's go ahead. Okay, basically this just shows you our disks and our partitions, SDA1, mount point, root, extended 4 file system. I had a 15 gig drive on this virtual machine, and right now I'm using a little less than half of it, 6.6 gigs. Alright, also under Settings, Ice-T Web Control Panel and Print Settings. Graphics, we have GIMP installed by default. GwenView, of course, is KDE's image viewer. Also under Graphics, we have ImageMagick, we have Inkscape. Inkscape is a vector graphics program where GIMP, is mainly for editing raster graphics. This is Inkscape 0.92. So fantastic that they include GIMP and Inkscape. Two very important graphics programs. Really two of the best examples of graphics programs in Linux. Two of the best examples of programs, period, in Linux, GIMP and Inkscape. K-Color Chooser. This is a really neat tool. So I click on it, pick screen color, and say I want to know the color of this wallpaper. I just click on it, and it returns that color. Pick screen color. Hover over the icon, and it tells me the icon color. Pretty cool. Really neat for those of you that like to do a lot of tweaking with your theming, and maybe you create icon sets, or maybe you play around with your X resources file, your terminal schemes. If you play around with any kind of color scheming at all, that is a fantastic tool. Alright, LibreOffice Draw is also under the graphics category. Ocular is in our graphics category, and Scanlight. Scanlight is a scanning utility under Internet. Conqueror. Is Conqueror the only browser we have? Because Conqueror is not that great of a web browser. Standard KDE web browser. Conversation is KDE's IRC chat client. Thunderbird. Mozilla Thunderbird, of course, is our email client. We have the X11 VNC server. Chromium. Okay, so they did install a real web browser. Chromium is installed here. Looks like we have Chromium version 64.0. It's built on Debian 9.3, running on Debian 9.0. Not much of a Chromium user. It's okay. I mean, it's free and open source software. I usually just stick to Firefox on all my systems, though some people have some trust issues with Mozilla these days. Under Multimedia, we have Amarok as our audio player. I really hope they have some other audio player other than Amarok, because Amarok really hasn't seen much development in recent years, so I would probably install some other music player other than Amarok if I was installing this on physical hardware and plan on living in it. Ardour 5 is also on the part of our default suite of software. Camoso is a neat little webcam utility. Of course, I can't really show it here in a virtual machine, but basically, you see this window here that my webcam is in. I'm running a program called GUVCView. Camoso functions in a similar way. Also under Multimedia, we have Kdenlive. Let's see what version of Kdenlive we were going with here. Kdenlive is probably the best free and open source software video editor we have. I'm going to go to Help, About Kdenlive, and let's see. Kdenlive, is it MLT version 6.4.1? Is that it? No, that's not the number scheming for KDE apps. Oh, it's up here at the top. Version 17.12.3. Okay, yeah, that makes a little more sense. Also under Multimedia, we have Pulse Audio Volume Control. We have Audacity. Audacity is probably the best free and open source audio editor we have in Linux. I use Kdenlive and Audacity to edit my videos and audios, to make my YouTube videos. Alright, also under Multimedia, we have Rec FFmpeg. I'm not sure what that is. We have Encode. I'm assuming that's an encoder, Multimedia encoder. Yep. Right, also under Multimedia, we have QJack CTL. We have VLC for our media player. Also, under Multimedia, we have XJDO. Now, I have heard of this one before, but I've never actually used it on any of my machines. Right-click. What is... Okay, File, Open Video. Okay. Really don't know much about that particular... I'm assuming it's a video player, but again, I've never actually used it. Then we have YAVTD. Not exactly sure what that is. Enter URL. Probably playing streams. Nope. Download and convert, extract as MP3. Extract what? Maybe from YouTube? Okay, just briefly pulling up some notes on YAVTD. Yeah, it extracts audio from sites like YouTube, My Video, Daily Motion, etc. Okay. Alright, under the games category here in the menu, we have GNU Do Q. We have K Breakout, K Mahjong, and K Mines. Under System, we have, again, our ISO image writer. We have our partition manager. We have Back in Time. This is, of course, a backup and restore software. Of course, when you first launch it, Back in Time is not configured. Would you like to restore a previous configuration? No. I don't have a previous config, but pretty standard snapshot utility. Probably very similar to other snapshot utilities you may have used in other distributions. Things like Deja Dupe in, say, Ubuntu, or Time Shift is very popular. I think Time Shift is used in Mint. Other system tools here. We have Discover for our Software Center. I've never been a big fan of KDE's Software Center, Discover. Although people tell me it's getting better and better with each version, which is good because back in the day it was pretty bad. Now you have your home page here, some of the more popular programs here available for install. We already have Inkscape, but Blender, Color Paint, Digicam, Krita. Of course, we can search for applications. For example, I mentioned I really like Firefox rather than Chromium. So Firefox, just start typing. And Firefox is not returned. Iceweasel is returned here, being Debian-based. Iceweasel is basically their own version of Firefox. It's their rebranded version of Firefox. If I wanted to install Iceweasel, all I have to do is just click the install button. I'll go ahead and do it for demonstration purposes. Click install. Of course, to install or remove software, to make any system changes on your machine, you always have to enter a root password. Click OK. And that's it. It's going to install. See right here, task 14%. Of course, it'll take it a few seconds, maybe a couple of minutes to get to 100%, but once it's done, I'll have Iceweasel, Firefox. So I'm going to minimize this. I'll just let that continue to run in the background. Also, system utilities. Dolphin, of course, is your standard file manager for the KDE desktop environment. We also have under system the Grub Customizer, Info Center. Console is your terminal in KDE. We have KSysGuard, which is our system monitor. I will go ahead and open the system monitor. This is not going to be a fair representation of Neptune, though, because I have the Software Center installing software right now, so I can tell you that always really spikes CPU. So, yeah, CPU is almost at 100%. Again, this is not a fair representation. Memory, 1.1 gig. But once I finish installing the software and let things settle down, I may actually check a system monitor later. Alright, also under System, K-Wallet Manager, we have the Muon Package Manager. Okay, so another package manager. Very similar to something like Synaptic. You can search by category, or you can actually search if you know the package name. Alright, and finishing out the system category, we have Yakuwaki, which is a drop-down terminal. It is hotkeyed to F12, so we have this terminal here. If I hit the close button, now that drop-down terminal is still running. If I hit F12 on the keyboard, is it not running? You know what? I think I closed it. Yeah, let me relaunch it. Okay, it's sitting down here in my system tray. F12. Yeah, F12 to make it go away. F12 to reappear. F12 to make it go away. All right, so that's pretty cool. All right, Iceweasel finished installing, so let me close out the Discover Software Center there. Also under System, we have Zulu Crypt, Disk Manager, and HTOP. And let's pull up HTOP. Now that I finished with the Discover Package Manager. Still a lot of CPU going, though. 30% of one, 80% of the other core. So, but memory dropped down when I closed out Discover. We're only using 880 megs of memory now. Still not great, but we've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Amarok open down here in the sys tray. We've got this update manager. I could close that. We've got the Yakuwaki drop-down terminal still going. Let me go ahead and close that. Get rid of that. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the desktop. I'm going to choose Configure Desktop. And wallpapers. Let's go ahead and see what kind of wallpapers we have for options here in Neptune. That's a really cool wallpaper. This one here, of course, has some Neptune branding here. That's pretty cool. What I really like about this particular wallpaper pack is it's not like one of the standard like KDE wallpaper packs. I've actually never seen some of these wallpapers. So many of these distros use the same wallpaper packs that, I end up seeing the same wallpapers in like 50 different Linux distros. These are pretty neat. Yeah, I really, really like some of these wallpapers. That one there is kind of freaky. Oh yeah, add a little color there. I think I'll go with that one there. Yeah, I like that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and open the system settings now. Workspace theme. Let's see what kind of theming we have. The default theme is Neptune Classic. Let me go ahead and open a file manager so we see what's going on with some of the theming. Alright, of course we have the options for Cupertine here. Hit apply. Let's see what kind of changes that makes. Yeah, I'm not sure if I dig that one. Of course we have our standard Breeze theme. I like the Breeze theme. Breeze is very nice. Breeze Dark is probably my favorite dark theme out there in Linux. One thing the KDE fellas, guys and gals, really get right is dark theming. We have the option for Netrunner Black X. Never heard of that theme. I'm assuming they just borrowed it from Netrunner. Oh, I really like the transparent bar. Wow. Yeah, that is pretty neat there. Wonder if it has any kind of transparency in the menu system. It does. The black menu here, slightly transparent. Yeah, I really, really like some of the theming options here in Neptune. Again, the ISO was 2.1 gigs in size, so if you're going to have such a big ISO, I better get plenty of software. I better get at least a handful of themes to choose from. I better get some icon sets, some wallpapers. I mentioned icon sets. Let's see where I would go for icons. Before I move on to icons, here in the workspace theme, we move on from look and feel, which is our themes, to the desktop theme. This is for our widgets. And the default one is Black X, the Netrunner Black X one. That's probably not the default one. It probably switched to that one when I chose the Netrunner Black X window theme. And we have a variety of desktop themes, cursor themes, several cursor themes. I never really play around with cursor themes. Splash screen. I have some different splash screen options too. And you don't see a lot of distros that give you, multiple splash screens that you can choose from. Alright, back to the system settings. I'm going to choose icons. Icons, we have the Adwaita icon theme, which is our default icon theme in GNOME. We have, of course, the default KDE Plasma icon set, which is Breeze or Breeze Dark. We also have the option for the Faenza icon theme. I really like the Faenza icon theme. Of course, we also have the Oxygen theme. And we read in the release notes that the kernel they were going with was 4.14. Yep, 4.14.0. Okay. While I have the terminal open, let's go ahead and htop again. Now I don't have, any packages installing in a software center. I've closed some of the windows I had open, some of the stuff in the system tray. Yeah, CPU percentage, is now in single digit percentage. This is what it should be. Memory's still a little high, 857 megs, but again, this is the Plasma desktop. They have quite a bit of stuff going on in the sys tray, including this update thing that's actually notifying me I need to update the system. I also have a clipboard down here, vaults. We have our network manager, volume manager. But 857 megs is not too bad for as much stuff as that's going on here. So. And really, if you strip down a lot of this stuff, and you can get Plasma to, run on half as much memory, or use as much as half as much memory. I've seen people claim that they can get that, 400 megs or less sometimes in Plasma. It probably takes a little work to do that, though. So overall, what are my thoughts on Neptune 5.0 refresh? I like it. If you want a Debian stable based distro that uses KDE, but you don't want to use an old version of KDE because Debian stable, the packages start getting old. When Debian releases a new release, Debian 9 in this case, it may be 2, even 3 years down the road before they release the next version of Debian. There's no set schedule when the next Debian will come out. It'll be released when it's ready. So, the packages in Debian stable start getting old after a while. And Plasma users, people that use the Plasma desktop, for the most part, the Plasma enthusiasts out there really want the latest Plasma release. They really want to be, on the forefront of Plasma, the technology that's being used in the KDE desktop environment, the Qt toolkit. And I think Neptune strikes a nice balance between stability and still providing some of that bleeding edge software. It doesn't provide the absolute bleeding edge Plasma. They're going with 5.12 because it's the latest LTS version of Plasma. So you still get some stability, but you're not using like some ancient version of Plasma, which is what you would be using if, for example, you wanted to use Plasma in Debian 9 or Plasma in Kubuntu 16.04, Ubuntu's last LTS release. So basically you get a Debian stable with a much more up-to-date KDE Plasma desktop and more up-to-date software packaging. You get more recent software. LibreOffice was version 6. A lot of the KDE programs, of course, are going to be updated to version 17.12 was the series. So Neptune definitely has a place. I think it serves a role. So if you guys, are Debian guys like myself and are also KDE guys, unfortunately not like myself, I'm not that big of a fan of KDE, but that's a personal bias of mine. But if you like Debian and you like KDE, give Neptune 5.0 refresh a try. Peace, guys.